What's up, everybody? My name is Joe Formica. I'm the founder of Bite Size UX, and I've been a professional designer and instructor for about the past 10 years. But today, I'm going to be your guide on one of the most common questions and topics that I get asked about, especially by junior designers, which is, what is the difference between UX and UI? Now, there's a simple definition, which is that UX design is designing how it works, and UI is designing how it looks. This is mostly correct, but we're going to go into a lot more detail. I'm going to do a deep dive into processes, tools, skills you need for each one of them, show you some examples, and also give you a couple things to think about to decide if UX, UI, or maybe a little bit of both is the right path for you.
This workshop is brought to you by Springboard and their world-class UX design courses. Springboard's UX design and UI UX design career track will deep dive into all of the UX and UI skills that you'll need over the course of a 9-month program. So you're going to get one-on-one mentorship from industry leaders, and you'll create a great portfolio full of UX projects, including an industry design project where you're going to get matched with a company and a team to collaborate and create a real solution that solves a real business problem. No design background is required, and both courses include Springboard's one-of-a-kind tuition refund guarantee. We've included links to all of these courses in the description, so check them out and make sure to use promo code BitesizeUXSB1000 to save $1,000 on your enrollment.
Let's start out with some basic explanation and talk through some of the goals of both UX and UI. So UX design, or user experience design, is the process of designing both useful and usable experiences for the people on the other side of the screen. So typically we're referring to digital products, apps, websites, but this could also apply to a wide range of other technology. There are a lot of different skills and methods involved in doing this, but in the UX process, we could really break it down to two key parts. The first is all about understanding our users, knowing their behavior, their pain points, their goals. And the second part is designing something that helps them accomplish those goals. There are a lot of skills and processes and tools that we'll get into to accomplish that at each part of the process. And these are all things that you'll need to know as a professional and UX designer. Let's zoom in on UI design, which is going to be one part of the process in designing a solution for our users. And UI design, as I mentioned earlier, is basically going to focus on what the experience looks like. So let's take a look at an example. Imagine that you're working for Airbnb and your task is to design some filters. The point of these is to help people see a bunch of properties and apartments and houses and cut it down to the ones that they might want to rent based on the criteria that they care about. As UX designers working on this, our first step would be to figure out what that criteria is. We need to know what people care about, what criteria, what priorities they have when they're looking for a place. We would figure that out through interviews and other research methods, and then we would use that to design filters that line up with those expectations. So this is a super important part of the process, but it's not the whole thing. Not only do these filters need to reflect what people care about and help them find a place, but they also need to be easy and seamless to use. So on the other hand, UI design without UX design might look something like this. The interface looks great. You could probably figure out how to jump right in and start using it, but the criteria that they're showing in those filters doesn't really reflect what users are looking for. So it's going to be really simple to use, really clear on how to interact with it, but it's not going to help our users towards their end goal of finding a place. By combining both of these, we get filters that are both useful and usable. They help people find a property based on the criteria that they care about, and it's easy to jump into and start using confidently. Let's talk about the responsibilities of a UX designer. So in some instances, a designer might be doing both UX and UI. In others, they might be broken out into two separate roles. But either way, as you saw with our last example, we need both of these to create a valuable experience for users. If we're going to design useful features for Airbnb, we need to know what our users want. So we would do some research, maybe some interviews, some surveys to figure out people's behavior, preferences, criteria they care about, and apply that to everything we're going to do down the road. We want to talk to real people, understand their goals, and not rely on our own assumptions. After that, you would do some synthesis, figuring out the main themes and pain points and goals that your users had, and finding some areas to focus in on. After finding some key themes, you might do some brainstorming and some sketching to figure out potential features that might solve that problem. After doing some rough concepts, you might go into wireframing or some other deliverables that are all focused on adding some detail to the solution. So taking those concepts that you created in sketches and turning them into something a little bit more complete. You might create some user flows and other diagrams to help detail the flow, the path that a user is going to take to get from opening the app to renting their Airbnb. And of course, you would do some usability testing. After you come up with these solutions, you want to show them to real people, ask for feedback, figure out what's working, and what are some areas that you still need to improve. The responsibilities of a UI designer are going to be mostly related to the visual experience. So how do we take all of those useful features that we just came up with and present them to a user in a way that is clear, simple, and seamless? As a UI designer, we'd be responsible for creating typography guidelines and color palettes, choosing photos, icons, and other visual detail, adjusting layouts to create a great experience for users on any screen or device, applying best practices in accessibility to make sure that our solution can be used by anyone, prototyping interactions and animations, working with developers to ensure that our end product is going to look pixel perfect, and of course, taking all that work and documenting it in a style guide or design system, a library of components that we can pull back from to create a clear, consistent experience for what we're designing now and everything we're going to design in the future. So hopefully you can see that your responsibilities as a UI designer go way beyond just making a screen look pretty and nice. These are going to have a real impact on how successful or maybe unsuccessful your users are with your product. A day in the life of a UX designer can look different just about every day. But in a typical day on the job, you might have a morning stand-up to get some progress updates with your team on new features and goals, conduct some usability tests to see how people are liking those new features that you created. That might be followed by meeting with your design team and debriefing, figuring out some of the areas that you need to improve. From there, you might do some brainstorming, either solo or with your team, to come up with new solutions to those issues. And finally, you might end your day by presenting some of those ideas to your design team, product managers, and other stakeholders to get some feedback and continue refining your solution. A typical day in the life of a UI designer might involve getting some rough ideas handed off to you from your UX team, doing some mood boarding or looking up some inspiration for visual design details, demoing a new animation or interaction that you're working on, updating your style guides with some new components, and maybe spending a little too much time trying to find the perfect spot for that button. You should consider a career in UX design if you like solving complex problems. A lot of times, designing a great experience can be tricky and complicated. If that sounds like a challenge that you're up for, or maybe even something that's fun for you, you will never have a dull day as a UX designer. Consider a career in UX if you like a good mix of creative and logic-based work, and also if you like a good mix of heads down solo work and collaborative work. Finally, I think the best quality for a UX designer to have is curiosity. If you like understanding people's behavior, learning about their motivations, observing them using technology, you are going to love a career in UX design. You should consider a career in UI design if you think that how an experience looks can have a big impact on how it works. If you like colors, branding, typography, or maybe even have some experience in those areas, you are going to be a great fit for a career as a UI designer. You should also consider a career in UI if you're detail oriented. If you like making those little tweaks that can often make a really big difference, UI will be great for you. Hopefully this video gave you some clarity on UX design and UI design and maybe a little inspiration to pursue them. If you're feeling like it's a good fit and you want to take those next steps to pursue UX, UI, or maybe even a little bit of both, Springboard will give you all the skills, experience, and mentorship that you need to get to those career goals. Check out the course links in the description, and remember, you can save $1,000 on your enrollment. Just use promo code BITESIZE UX SB1000. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in another video soon.